Now, the rest of the story. This is a kite tale. Kelly Foss is a kite enthusiast. He owns 4 of them, a miniature sled kite only 12 inches across, a couple of small deltas and medium-sized parafoil, and it was that handsome 32-inch red and yellow parafoil that brought him up to Lake Meredith Sunday afternoon, May 4 of this year. Now, Kelly is a disc jockey at KDJW in Amarillo, Texas. Lake Meredith is just north of town, and each year for the past 4, KDJW and their sister station KBUY have sponsored a fishing outing at the lake, and each year Kelly brings a kite. Well, actually, folks didn't think he'd have the nerve to bring one this year after what happened last year. It seems Kelly took the kite out of his car trunk, sent it aloft into a darkened sky, and friends at the outing suggested a storm might be brewing, but Kelly had smiled. Then the thunderstorm hit, and nobody ever saw Kelly's kite again. That was last year. So this year, when co-workers saw him coming with another kite, they promptly reminded him of his former glory. Somebody said, "Here comes Ben Franklin," and everybody laughed, especially good-natured Kelly. This kite came with a guarantee, he insisted. And encouraged by the fair weather, he stood bravely on the dock and sent his majestic red and yellow parafoil kite heavenward. And it was a spectacular flight. A slow, steady breeze made the taut string sing. The kite soared quietly 300 feet up the coastline. It seemed that Kelly had more than made up for last year's disaster, but then, well, this is the rest of the story. Suddenly, a vigorous wind from nowhere had Kelly's tailless kite doing a breakdance in the sky. I'd better reel it in, he thought to himself, but in that instant the nylon line went slack and the parafoil went into a screaming dive. And then several feet from a crash into the trees, it swooped upward, utterly out of control. As friends laughed, Kelly frantically tugged at the line, but the kite refused to respond. It just continued to dive and to climb and to careen as though it had a mind of its own. I said as though it had a mind of its own. And then finally, with the same apparent purpose, the parafoil swerved out over the lake and dived into the water. Somebody hollered, "Ben Franklin does it again." And everybody laughed again. The kite more than 100 feet down the cove was almost out of sight, but Charlie Holland, the husband of a radio station co-worker, offered to retrieve it. About 15 feet from the Lake Meredith shore, the water gets deep abruptly, and Charlie was wading out there, his lighted pipe still in his mouth, when suddenly he disappeared. But bobbing to the surface, he swam the rest of the way. And Kelly's kite was soon safe and dry. But the postscript to this kite tale is this. Nobody had noticed, nor surely would have, that a child from a nearby church picnic had wandered off, had waded out too far, and that little girl was bobbing face down unconscious in the lake. That is, nobody had noticed until Kelly's wayward kite had plunged into the lake right alongside the drowning girl. So it was Charlie who went out after the kite, who brought her back to shore, where she was given mouth-to-mouth, was revived, was taken to a nearby hospital, and Sherry Morris, age 4, is totally recovered because Kelly Foss's wind-battered kite, which could have crashed anywhere, with a mind of its own, came to rest to mark one very special place. So they don't laugh at Kelly and his kites anymore, and now you know why. For now you know the rest of the story.